Baseball fans were back at Nats Park after a shooting at Saturday night's game. The shooting outside the third base gate wounded 3 people and prompted the suspension of the game during the 6th inning. One of the injured was a fan. The 2 others were men shooting at each other from cars. On Sunday, the teams finished Saturday night's game and then started the regularly scheduled game. According to police, the fan who was shot was grazed in the back by a bullet and is okay. The 2 men are in stable condition at a local hospital, and one of those vehicles in the shooting has been recovered, and 2 suspects from that car are in custody. Officials are now looking for a gray Toyota Corolla with a missing hubcap on the rear driver's side wheel and dark tinted windows. The vehicle is believed to be displaying a Virginia temporary tag. Well, a New York City cop is credited with saving a stabbing victim's life by using an empty potato chip bag and tape. Officer Ronald Kennedy responded to a reported stabbing in the 28th precinct on Lenox Avenue on July 7th. Graphic body cam video shows Kennedy rushed to help a man with blood on his chest, and the officer can be heard telling a bystander to grab a bag of chips and tape from a nearby store. Kennedy then lies the victim flat on the ground with the help of others and uses the empty chip bag and tape to stop the bleeding. EMS responded moments later and transported the victim to the hospital. And according to the video tweeted by the NYPD commissioner, the attending physician at Harlem Hospital said the officer's actions saved the victim's life. Well, 2 people died and several others were injured, including 2 first responders in connection to 2 related shootings in Tucson, Arizona on Sunday. Officials say an ambulance staged at a local park was approached by a man in an SUV just before 4 p.m. The man opened fire, striking the driver in the head and hitting the passenger in the arm and chest. One of the EMTs was able to call for emergency assistance and give a description of the suspect and vehicle. The suspect then fled the park in his SUV to the scene of a nearby house fire, and he then began firing his weapon at firefighters and nearby bystanders, killing 1 neighbor. Officials say the suspect then fled the scene once again and rammed into an approaching police vehicle. As the officer exited the vehicle, the suspect opened fire again, and the officer returned fire, striking the suspect. He's now in critical condition at a local hospital, and 2 or 3 kids from the home are reported missing. Well, Texas Democrats who fled to Washington to avoid passing new voting restrictions are kicking off a voting rights conference in the nation's capital today. NBC's Tracy Potts shows us how they hope to move the issue forward.
Labor leader Dolores Huerta kicks off Texas Democrats' voting rights conference today.
We're fugitives for justice.
They fled to Washington to block new restrictions in Texas and to urge lawmakers to pass federal legislation making it easier for all Americans to vote. The conference is largely virtual after 5 Texas lawmakers tested positive for COVID-19.
Many of my colleagues left behind children, sick loved ones, elderly parents. They left behind their day jobs, and they took health risks.
Today's conference comes after a similar roundtable in Georgia last weekend, highlighting voters who stood in line for hours to cast a ballot.
An hour and a half, maybe an hour and a half in, I had probably moved about 10 paces forward.
It becomes really inconvenient because you have to worry about things like childcare.
All of this is designed to sow chaos and confusion and make it harder for people to vote.
These laws are targeted, and they specifically have the intent to undermine participation by communities of color, by the marginalized and the disadvantaged, and that is wrong.
This week's focus comes just after the 1-year anniversary of the death of Congressman John Lewis. The voting rights bill that carries his name is stuck in Congress.
He wants us to carry on. It is a battle that is a lifetime of struggle.
A battle with renewed energy this week. Tracy Potts, NBC News.